Now, when you think about where we're at in our society, think about your phone. Nobody taught you how to use it. Nobody's really given you the boundaries or the concerns or the positives. It's just like, here's this tool, and we figure out this tool, and it's a great tool. Problem is the tool is using us. So I wrote a couple things down today before I get into the actual frequently asked questions or the questions that you submitted. But I get asked many times, usually after I speak, can you help me? Can you teach me, or what should I do? And one of the things I always like to make clear is all I am is a guide. And so when you look at the best stories or the best movies in the world, there's usually a hero and a guide. And in this case, as we start today, I'm just the guide. I can't do the work. I can't do the workout. I'm not going to eat the food for you, but I can guide you. I can nudge you. I can motivate you in different ways. I can kind of show you a framework. But I want you to think as we answer some of these questions today, or the questions that I get frequently, you're the hero to those questions. You're the one that will have to put in the effort and the work, and it is effort and it is work. Doesn't always have to be complicated, but I just want to remind you, you're the hero. I don't know all the answers. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physician, but I do think that I can help you find the answers that you're looking for in many of these cases. So as I talk about ask a better question, get a better answer, or the question reveals the answer, that's why I wanted to start with this session, because when I do presentations, I got an objective of the topic, but sometimes I think the audience sometimes has a objective of the outcome or the answer they're looking for. And so today is really trying to go right at that. What questions do you have? I'd love to help everyone, but I always need to know, where does the help have to happen? So that's the point for today. There were some questions submitted ahead of times, but in the chat, or please open it up. This is meant to be a conversation. I'll try to do rapid fire with some of these questions. So the first question that came in is all about hormones. Now, I'm a huge fan of talking about hormones. I don't think we talk about hormones enough, both male and female, young, old, in between. Your hormones are chemical messengers. So think of those things as the communication hub of, do I want more energy? Do I not need a ton of energy? Do I want to digest food? Or am I not in a state where I need to digest food? Do I want my immune system to be elevated or suppressed? And so the question that came in is, how do hormones affect weight loss and overall health? They have everything to do with weight loss and overall health. So they're chemical messengers. Now, what we're seeing across the board, male and female, is that you have two sides of the equation. You have stress, and let's think about stress as survival. We all have stress. And we all, I'm pretty sure, want to survive. That's one side. The other side is growth, or in my opinion, building. And these are the hormones that help you increase testosterone, growth hormone, balance your estradiol, estrogen. These help the body grow, or anabolic hormones. Think about your steroidal hormones. The problem is when the stress and survival side is on. Cortisol, stress, running and gunning, eating through lunch by working and all those things, you're in this state of fight or flight, and that creates this thing called cortisol steal. And so to answer this question, the biggest challenge that I see is stress is too high, not managed, chronic stress, slow drip, and slowly that growth side disappears. You cannot do both at the same time. So here's an example. You're running from a saber-toothed tiger, which none of us fortunately have had to, but that's how our fight or flight was designed. Do you think you want your immune system turned on? No. Do you want your digestion turned on? Do you need to stop and go to the bathroom? No. And so what happens is in this chronic state of stress, we slowly drip down over here on the growth side, and we get out of balance. And so it's going to be really hard for your thyroid, for your hormones, for your metabolism, for your muscular growth to be at its all-time high, which creates that weight gain. Or in many people, it's really they're trying to reduce fat. And so their fat cells increase and their muscular cells decrease. And so the key there is we want to make sure that we're managing stress so that growth hormones can be on. Number one question here is, your hormones directly impact your weight, and more importantly, they directly impact your overall health. So that's to answer that question. I can go deeper if it didn't answer anyone's questions. Second question that came in is, what's the minimum level of health objectives a person should try in a day? If you work or if you have kids or you just have life, is there too many things to do? And I think that question answers the question. And the answer is yes. You can't do too many things at once. The honest truth is, when people come to see me, it has nothing to do with what they're doing. It has everything to do with the habits that they have. And so the prefrontal cortex of the brain can only actually consciously pay attention to one thing at a time. My wife likes to say that I don't know how to multitask. I don't. And nobody does. We're actually switching tasks. So you're going from one task to the other. Some people could do that really quickly. Some people take a lot longer. The truth is, you can only do one thing at a time. The truth is, you can only build one habit at a time. And so if you're trying to do too much, or you think, I got to go to the gym, I got to meal prep, I have to sleep, I have to take my kids, my family needs to eat better, I need to put the phone down, it's too much. And so all those things I just mentioned are habitual. And so it's going to take time for us to slowly make some new habits that offset some of the bad habits. Now, when you think about where we're at in our society, think about your phone. Nobody taught you how to use it. Nobody's really given you the boundaries or the concerns or the positives. It's just like, here's this tool, and we figure out this tool, and it's a great tool. Problem is, the tool is using us. And so we don't have great habits. We don't have great boundaries. And one of the things that I'm seeing is we don't have enough space. And so before we say, is there too many things, or how many things, or what are the things, I like to tell people to step back, to take some space. Have you spent an hour dreaming of the health that you want? Have you spent some time thinking, how did I get to where I am, the good and the bad, and where do I want to go? I think we spend too much time complaining about the things that we don't have, or the outcome that we wish we had, or the pain that we have, versus just saying, what's the next step? Because that's the only thing we can control. Great question there, but I do think that question revealed the answer. Here's an interesting one, and I just did a podcast on this. If you know anyone struggling with acid reflux or digestion, is everything disrupts my acid reflux. Everything irritates my acid reflux. The podcast I did was, sometimes people with acid reflux, it's not that they're too acidic in their stomach, it's that they're not acidic enough. And so you'll have to listen to that podcast because it's interesting. What happens is, yes, we can get too acidic, creates that acid reflux. We want to get the body more alkaline, but sometimes we're not giving the body the right things to actually break food down, which then creates that reflux. And so that'll be an interesting way to think about it as you're trying to avoid acid. Not all acid necessarily is bad. The key is you want that balance of alkaline versus acid. One of the best things for acid reflux is lemon or citrus fruit squeezed in water. By digestion, it actually makes a more alkaline byproduct, which then helps that minimize that acid reflux symptom. I've never not had someone get off acid reflux medication. So if that's a question, if that's something you're struggling with, I got 10 different strategies. First one is lemon in your water. Second one is making sure that you're sleeping. Number 3 is going to be coconut oil. Coconut oil is a healthy saturated fat, antifungal, antibacterial, very soothing for the esophagus, very good for your digestion. But when you're looking at the food target, for example, when you look at the center here, these foods are going to help the body be more alkaline. The red's going to be more acidic. And so if we can get closer to like a 60% green to 40% of the red, that's starting to kind of minimize that acid reflux. Great question. So do you have any insight on how food, exercise helps and hurts mental health? You know, that's a pretty complicated question. I think sometimes people have a Whoop or a wearable, or they get all this data and it stresses them out. Sometimes I don't think that's great for mental health. If we're tracking everything and we just are being reinforced that we suck. You know, I'm coaching 4th grade football. You don't want to reinforce that these 4th graders don't know what they're doing. You want to reinforce that they're getting better. So sometimes I think we exercise too much or pay attention to macronutrients, those macros, and The reality is we're all different. Some of us like data. Some of us don't need data. Some of us like how pay attention to more of the feel. Some of us need more of the numbers. But I do think sometimes we go too far in both directions. For most people, if you try to upgrade the food you're eating, not get rid of anything, upgrade it. So if I like bread, get better bread. If I haven't had a piece of fruit, eating a piece of fruit, that's going to have a game changer impact on your mental health. Better digestion equals better mental health. Moving your body, too much movement, strenuous movement, redlining, going too hard, you can burn out from that. But daily movement, going for a walk, standing up, taking a couple deep breaths, stretches, strength training, cardiovascular exercise. If you're doing these things, if you're moving your body, again, it washes the brain, helps you be happier, creates these endorphins. So food and exercise to me can be powerful medicine. I also think with all our wearables and all the information and all this stuff, it can also be a stressor if you're paying attention to it too rigid. The last question here is on creatine. And so the question is creatine, protein. Well, creatine is creatine, protein is protein. Sometimes people think they're the same thing. They're not. Maybe your supplement is a creatine protein powder, which is something different. But you're going to start to hear more and more ways that creatine helps the brain, women's health, young health, memory. Just remember, this is one of the oldest ingredients in the supplement space, and they're going to find different ways to market it. I think a rule of thumb, if I've said this before, if anything comes in a gummy, I don't think that's a healthy product. I don't care if it's cod liver oil. When you process something into a gummy, you know that it's been refined and processed. You get creatine naturally from food. For example, if you eat beef, if you eat bison, if you eat fish, these things all contain creatine. And at the end of the day, is creatine essential? It is essential. But I don't think most people are as deficient as they think. So you maybe want to get tested. Number two, nutrient is always going to be more powerful in a food form. So when we think, well, are we missing nutrients or are we missing food? We're missing food. We're designed to eat food. We're not designed to eat nutrients. And so creatine is a synthetic, man-made, most of it coming from China, unregulated. They can say they test it. They can say it's safe. I don't think it's going to hurt you. I just think we start over-supplementing. Next thing you know, we're on 10 to 15 supplements. Creatine, collagen, pre-workout, post-workout, protein powder, multivitamins, and we don't even know what's doing what. So you got to get back to the source. If you're eating high-quality animal products, for the most part, you're having plenty of creatine. If your digestion's good, it's going to help with the absorption. The last thing is, remember, we're going to live, for most of us, a pretty long life. And one of the things that happens is we have to filter everything that goes in the body, kidney function, which filters these supplements, these synthetic supplements. We take a bunch of it, we still have to filter it. It kind of clogs up the filter. And long term, I don't think that's something that I would put my body extended period of time. And so I see this all the time. You got a child who's in sports, they've been told they need to take creatine, bigger, faster, stronger. Just understand that creatine is a cell volumizer. It's adding water to the cell, which dehydrates the body. So extended use, too much use could cause many issues. I'm not a fan of it, but I don't think it hurts you. If you're seeing some positive effects, try to get as high quality supplement as you can get. And if you want to learn more, we have an 1.5-hour podcast on creatine.